online now? Am I online? Am I online? Twitch says I'm offline. No, I'm online. Excellent. Okay, good. Right. So, I'm back coding my game. I have made a bit of progress since I was last streaming. Let's see, where have we gotten to? Where have we gotten to? Okay, so I've been playing around with a number of things over the last few weeks, mainly to do with experimental backgrounds to the title screen. So tell you what, let's have a look at what I've got now. Just got to find it. Looking through the file system. I'm not very well prepared for this stream. Okay, and let's park it in here. There we go. Right, I'm going to turn off sound. Turn off sound, turn off sound, turn off the sound. I can't turn it off. And there we go. Right. This is... that isn't right. That's because I was working on it somewhere else. I was working on it on a computer that is not this one. So what I need to do is I need to pull it from GitHub. What do you got for me? There we go. Right. Try again. There we go. Now, background's a little bit different. Now, this is a... over the Christmas break, I started looking at optical illusions. Everybody, okay. I'm fond of optical illusions. This is a poor implementation of an optical illusion which works really well on me. Not on everybody, but does work really well on me. What is there a name for it? I don't know. Anyway, so what we have here is a scrolling grid, checkerboard grid, with some crosses at the intersections. If only I could stop it from moving for a second. Let's stop it from moving just for a second. Where is it? Here. This one. Yeah. Stop removing. Let's stop the checkerboard from moving. Let's stop the crosses from moving. That's okay. Okay, there we go. So, this is a static background. So, as I was saying, we have a two-tone checkerboard with crosses at the intersections of these are. So we've got a lighter blue, greenish-y sort of blue. I wrote a demo and kind of played around with color settings for various for the color settings, see what worked, and this is the color combination that I went with. If this illusion works on you as well as it works on me, then you shouldn't be able to look around this background without noticing a sort of wavy effect. And as I say, for some people this is completely, all they'll see is a grid, and a grid with crosses. But for some people, especially if it's moving, if you're like scrolling past this pattern on a web page or something, then you will notice some sort of, if not motion, then some sort of like wavy distortion or something which suggests that this isn't a plain grid pattern anyway. So anyway, cool optical illusion. I sort of looked at a bunch of optical illusions, and I was thinking, you know, is any of these going to make a good background for a game? I'm still not 100% sure that this is really a good idea to put an actual optical illusion in the art of a game, but I mean, I think it's cool. And I can always sort of reduce the effect. Like, what I'm worried about is people looking at this and feeling sick, and I can always reduce the impact. I can always make it a little less nauseating. I can scale this background up by a few, like, you know, make it several times bigger, and it will that'll reduce the effect. I can make it way smaller. That would reduce the effect. So I don't know. I'm just going to implement something and then kind of like see what I feel about it. So my idea was to make it move, move like all the time. So this illusion is meant to work whether it's static or moving, but I reckon I can make it like, you know, it'll look kind of cool. I mean, it's a video game. It's meant to be cool. Let's just make everything slightly cool. I figure. That's probably not like the way that Stephen Molyneux makes his games, but that's the way I'm making this game. So, where was I? I am going to. Oh, that's all. That's. I've gone back too much. There we go. Right. So this is moving, and it's not doing it right. Those crosses are meant to stay in sync with the checkerboard behind them, but they're looping, and it's because I tried to code the I tried to do this movement code while half asleep. So I went to sleep, I had to think about it, and decided and realised I think what was wrong, which is the reason that what's happening with this pattern of crosses is that it's resetting to the start state. Basically. How have I implemented this? So the checkerboard pattern behind it. Let's get rid of the crosses and let's just look at the checkerboard pattern, because I want to refactor. I want to change how that works as well. So let's just look at the checkerboard pattern. So how is this scrolling? Basically, what I'm doing is drawing a checkerboard grid which is one square bigger than the actual size of the frame here. And I am iterating it, and every time the intersection of the basically the checkerboard line reaches the side of the frame, it's redrawn. The checkerboard is redrawn one square sort of back, and I could make that a bit clearer what I'm saying by drawing it a bit smaller, actually. Let's draw it a bit smaller, and that will be a bit more obvious. So right now this is okay, so it's actually 2 squares beyond the bounds of the frame. So I'm going to make it 2 squares inside the frame instead, and hopefully that will demonstrate what I'm talking about. This is basically what's happening. You have so these squares are always, the inner squares are always inside the frame. So the frame, appears to be full of squares, but we're drawing new squares from behind the sort of axis of movement of the checkerboard, and we're scrolling them into view. So it appears to be a sort of seamless scrolling effect. And all I have to do is draw an extra square either side of the frame. Right, so that's a basic explanation for what's going on. What I wanted to, this isn't quite what I want. This scheme only works because I'm scrolling one square. I'm sort of because x and y velocity of the background is the same. If I double the x velocity, then weird stuff starts to happen. If I double the x velocity without changing the way that these squares are drawn in, then weird stuff starts to happen. So this is what I'm gonna do. I am going to. I want to make the change to the modulus, the modulus component of this calculation. So the modulus, basically, the modulus is how basically key to how this is working. What it is, what the modulus is basically every time. So it's this is the x-coordinate of the squares that make up the checkerboard, and it says basically start from your point in the grid. This is drawing each square in the grid. Start in your point in the grid, and also factor in the size of the canvas. So we take. Let's see. Am I explaining this right? But basically, what it's doing is drawing squares in, and the modulus tells it, okay. Once you've iterated as much as a cell's, I'm calling each one of these squares a cell. Once you've iterated as far as the cell's width, then reset the pattern. So what this means is, if you're going traveling by x and y by the cells by a constant rate, and the cells are square, then it will look seamless. Because you are, can I really explain why? I'm not really sure, but I kind of figured this scheme out. But if I change the factor doing the modulus, then I think I should be able to scroll this at. I should be able to scroll x and y individually. What I kind of want is a background which will scrolls by y a little less than it scrolls by x, so it won't appear. So right now it appears to scroll diagonally down to the left. What I want to do is to scroll diagonally down to the left, but a bit more shallowly, sort of rather than directly down into the bottom left corner, just sort of more into the left-hand side of the screen. I honestly don't know why I think that will look better, but I kind of want to try it, so that's what we're going to do. Okay. Right. Ooh, other stuff that I did during the Christmas break. I changed these. I kind of added volume sliders for the sound and the music. Because I don't know, seemed like a reasonable thing to do, and also I don't know if. Oh yeah, I think this is new as well. The quality button. So this is low quality. This is high quality. High quality, we've got this sort of moving gradient overlay on the buttons, and also a gradient is used for the line of the outline of the logo. Using a gradient for lines, like a lot. This is a lot of lines. This is thousands of tiny little connected lines, and rendering them with a gradient color is slow in Firefox, but not Chrome. It turns out. So I don't know. I've kind of added this button. There you go, fun. So I've also added other stuff. Easy mode, hard mode doesn't do anything right now. Level 1, start the actual game, go back. Oh yeah, this screen still has the old background on it. Multiplayer, gonna add multiplayer at some point, I hope. Doesn't work now, obviously. Okay, background to the actual coding. But just before we start the actual coding, I am going to have a drink. Alright. So. Now, what I want to do. Here's a starter for 10. Ideally, I would have some sort of generic method to scroll this background at whatever rate that I wanted. And I could do something fancy like make it into a JavaScript function, but I'm not going to do that. I am just going to bodge it right into the draw function here, and then we're going to see. We're going to see whether it's worth refactoring after that. I'm going to bet no. Right. Yeah, okay, leave the crosses for now. We can make this a little easier to read by splitting the arguments across the lines. Okay. Right. I'm also going to change that back. Okay. So, naive approach. So scroll this at half the rate, which is... There you go, Bob's your uncle. So that doesn't work, for reasons already explained, because it is not travelling. The checkerboard appears to invert because X is not happening at the same rate as Y. So that's why that's happening. Oh, also I don't want that. That's halving the X. That's halving X. I want to halve Y instead. Make it sort of travel more into the left-hand side of the screen. Right. So yep, that's the right speed. That's the right effect. But I don't want the checkerboard to invert every cell width. Is that every cell width, or is that every... I can't tell how quickly that's inverting. Ah, whenever... Right, so every 2 cell widths on the left. If you watch... If you look at the left-hand side of the frame and track the... when the grid line reaches the left-hand side, you'll notice that every two grid lines, the checkerboard inverts. So yeah, that's what I've been seeing. What are we going to do about that? What are we going to do about that, indeed? We're going to change the modulo factor. I'm going to change it by like this. What does this do? It does something completely wrong. That is totally wrong. Right, okay. Okay, so it's time to use the actual brain. Why is this happening? Why is the background inverting? The background's inverting because it is starting to draw the checkerboard too soon. In fact, let's see, what if I... So I'm also going to slightly monitor my stream. How's it doing? How's it doing? Sweet. Okay. Right. Why is this happening? Yes, I had. So, unfortunately, that's as far as my whiteboarding got. I realised that the problem was with the modulo factor, but I did not figure out exactly how to change this algorithm so that it stops, so that it works properly. It's also I don't want to look at this. It kind of hurts my eyes to look at. But I do need to look at it in order to figure out what's wrong with it, which is, I'm sure, something a lot of graphics programmers can empathise with. Anyway. So what's happening here? Basically, basically it's redrawing with the wrong y offset. It's redrawing according to y, I suppose. I've been thinking about this as a modulus applied to the entire grid, but really, of course, this is... I mean, this is drawing... this command is only drawing each individual square in the grid. It's not drawing the entire grid itself. So, I mean, if I think about it in terms of each square being drawn, let's see. It draws at... Okay, so this positions it within the grid. Column number times the cell size. Yeah, no problem about that. This draws the grid. It's this bit which is actually responsible for any sort of movement. So this is where the complexity comes in. We've got two loops for actually iterating over the grid, but we've also got this concept of the tick of time actually changing where the grid is actually rendered. So this is why it's a bit confusing. We've kind of got two competing driving concerns actually determining the way that the grid is rendered. So let's see. Let's have a closer think about what these things actually represent. So okay, negative, which means that it travels backwards in the x-axis, following the tick count, and then it's moduloed by a factor of the cell size. What is moduloing by the cell size actually doing? Well, it's causing a discrete change in the, kind of like a sawtooth wave. This value is kind of going down and down and down until it's moduloed, at which point it returns to the origin. So we've got a kind of sawtooth. Now the problem is that these sawtooths are out of sync. There's also the fact that these are squares. I'm drawing squares, but I'm moving them at like in a non-diagonal vector. This. Just sync to the music. That's kind of cool. Anyway. No, that's not right. Okay, so what's happening there is shifting back and forth because this, yeah, we're seeing like a four-phase pattern here where for every iteration of the cell size, of the distance of the cell size of the grid, we're having four events. Basically, this is shifting the grid back and forth four times, like twice as often as it ought to. So I don't think changing that modulo figure is actually what we're looking for here, unless I do something like this. What about that? Interesting. Okay, so still inverting. Still inverting, but the pattern is moving correctly. Is it possible that... I have a feeling yeah, it turns out JavaScript's modulo operator has a precedence higher than arithmetic. Make it make sense. Make it make sense. In fact, that means I've also fudged that, haven't I? There we go. Right, what have we got? What is it going to do? Boink, boink. Okay. Interesting. I think that's peculiar. Why does... Oh. Okay. Let's have a looky. Boom, boom, boom. Oh hey, I can put this on my other monitor. Nice. Okay. Seems a little strange. Seems a little strange. What can I say? I shouldn't be fudging around with my stream while I'm actually streaming. Okay. Okay. I'm really avoiding thinking about why this isn't working rather than actually... and instead I'm just throwing spaghetti at the wall and changing random stuff until... I don't know, I guess I'm learning a little bit about the problem as well. Okay, that's not helping. Let's put that back. That's inverting because the modulo is happening at the wrong rate, I reckon. I also got a feeling that it's not just the modulo, I might have to draw more squares onto the edges of the grid as well at the same time. Man, I'm not a graphics programmer. Why I am honestly, why I am coding dynamic vector graphics for a game, I don't know, I've bitten off more than I can chew. Doesn't matter, gotta chew it anyway. Let's see, why? I guess a way of thinking about this is that the grid is kind of being reset too not far enough. It's kind of being reset by right, so it's going at a rate of for every 2 squares this checkerboard travels left, it's actually getting reset by 1 checkerboard width, or one square width, yeah. And instead it should be reset either by... it has to be reset by 2 squares. Which means that my intuition about changing the modulo was right, but this is not doing the right thing. That is... well, okay, that's obviously completely wrong. Yeah. Nope, totally wrong. That... Okay, so let's go... throwing more spaghetti at the wall. What am I even doing? I don't know. Howdy! Somebody is in the stream chat. How do you do? I am trying to figure out why my scrolling background is so wacky right now. It's really wacky, and it shouldn't be inverting like that. So I am kind of being a very bad programmer and trying to fix it by sort of fiddling numbers rather than actually understanding the problem. I'll probably get it eventually. Might take a few cups of tea, but I'm gonna get it. Let's see. Maybe if let's see. I'm gonna draw it inside the frame. Draw it inside the frame. Give ourselves a slightly better idea of what's happening here. Right. looking at that, it kind of seems like I need to be drawing more of the grid. Like, I can't... If this is... I mean, it's slightly more obvious now that this checkerboard is just... We can see that it's just kind of a checkerboard moving back and forth. So, in order to match itself when it goes back, it just needs to move back... I see. I think... Let's see, okay, I don't think changing that's going to help. Ooh. Yeah. It's the rate, it's the rate of... It's definitely the rate of the... It's definitely the rate of the... Definitely the rate of the modulo, which is the problem. Just can't figure out what. Can't figure out how to change it to make it work. Tricky. It's really cold. I'm going to turn on the heater. Hopefully that doesn't wreck the stream audio too badly. Okay. Okay. So let's assume that the X modulo is correct. Is that the... Should I assume that? I have a feeling I probably shouldn't. Let's go... Okay, let's assume the X modulo is correct. What rate should the Y modulo be happening? It should be happening at half the rate, right? Because it's travelling at half the speed? Ah, see, to make it happen at half the rate, I actually have to double the modulo factor, rather than halve it. Interesting. Ah, okay, so that's sort of making it... Okay, I'm changing the X modulo factor again. Hello? Nice! I wasn't expecting that to work. I was not expecting that to work. That is now scrolling without... Ooh. Bob's your uncle. Okay. That wasn't as hard as I thought. I thought I was going to have to get a bit more involved there, but I didn't. All I had to do is halve the rate of the modulo for both axes, and now it weirdly works. I don't... What if I... Okay, let's try halving the... Oh, interesting. So, let's see. If I do this, what's going to happen? Interesting, that's also fine. Huh. That scrolls smoothly as well. But presumably if... Ooh, no. If I do reset the modulus factors, then this is going to start inverting again, isn't it? It isn't. Nothing I'm nothing I'm doing is having the expected effect. Absolutely nothing. Okay, I'll just... I'll understand one day. I'll understand what I'm doing one day. Probably, maybe. That's I don't know. That's probably hoping for too much. But okay. There we go. It works for reasons that I hope to one day understand. Okay, there we go. So finally, I now have the background, which is scrolling at half the rate horizontally that it is vertically. Sorry, other way around. Half the rate vertically that it is horizontally. Okay, good. Scrolling checkboard. Right. Let's add the crosses in now. Add the crosses in. And this is trickier. this is trickier because this is because it is way trickier. That's just way trickier. Okay. Okay, I'm going to double the modulus rate again. Parentheses, parentheses, parentheses. As far as I can tell, they are completely necessary, unfortunately. And I just pray this is still going to work. Who knows, it might still work. Okay, is that right? No! Totally wrong. Totally wrong. It's travelling... It's totally wrong. Oh yes, because this needs to... this needs to be... There we go. Right, crosses match. I kind of want to make that a little bit slower. Let's make it like even slower. How about that? Is that even slower? That's not slower, is it? Oh, yeah. No, okay. That needs to be like this. Okay, so now this is going to go even slower. Very nice, very nice. That is perfect. More streamer comments. If both the X and Y are being halved, what happens if we take the halving off? Would it just speed up? Yes, indeed it would. Yeah, so these this factor that I'm dividing the tick count by is basically to change the speed at which the scroll occurs. If I take away this, the divide by 2 and the divide by 4, it iterates at 1 pixel per tick. So this command is, this gives exposition y, so fill rect draws each square in the checkerboard. So it goes x coordinate, y coordinate, x width, y width. And basically, if you feed the tick count in, these are values in pixels. So 1 tick corresponds to 1 pixel. So every tick, which is roughly 60 times a second, every 60th of a second, the checkerboard will advance by 1 pixel, unless you divide it by 2, in which case it moves by half pixel every 60th of a second. So that's what we're seeing here. Right. Feel free to ask more questions. I am occasionally looking across to my second monitor and checking on the chat. Right. Crosses, they are now moving at the right speed. Now, they shouldn't be flickering like this. As I explained earlier in the stream, these crosses are... actually, no, I didn't explain why they're coloured the way they are. They're coloured the way they are because basically the light crosses correspond to true and the dark crosses correspond to false in this two-dimensional array of booleans that I have here. So I think it's like true means a light-coloured cross and false is a dark-coloured cross. So this is a pattern which is repeated going across the grid. How have I done that? With a bit of modulus math. I've said math, or I say maths. With a bit of modulus maths, I am basically iterating across this array. Right. let's see. Should I try to explain what's going on here? Can I explain what's going on here? I have coded a lot of this while half asleep. At some point recently. More chats. Have I ever worked with GitHub? Yes, this is on GitHub. I'm using GitHub to manage this project. Is it public? I hope it isn't. I don't want anybody to be looking at this code. It is dreadful. It is not very nice at all, and I don't think it is not ready for anybody to collaborate on. I don't think. But yep, it's a GitHub repo. So let's see. Crosses. It is resetting where it is picking from the two-dimensional array on. So I also had a think about how this works. How this works, and the reason that it's flickering is because because of the modulus again. Yeah, so as I was saying just now, it indexes into this two-dimensional array using these variables a and b. Now, a and b, the colour of the cross to draw at each intersection depends on which row in the grid that the cross is at, which column it's in. Is +8 to help with the modulus, because modulus. Oh, let's see. I was having a problem with negative values before, so I just add the width or the height of this array, so as to get it indexing into the array correctly. Let's see. We then use we get the absolute value with math.abs, and I'm not sure that is really correct. And we modulus by the cell size and multiply. Yeah, I'm not sure I can explain why this works. I think this is another example of me just throwing spaghetti at the wall until it does vaguely what I wanted. And I say vaguely because obviously it's not working correctly right now. Ho-hum. More comments. I'm trying to figure out how to go from GitHub to the hosting server so I don't have to manage two code bases per se. I'm just learning myself. GitHub to the hosting server. I wish you luck. I am not a Git super duper expert or anything. GitHub works pretty well for my purposes. Oh, actually, no. I have hosted a Git server before. It was a bit fidgety and didn't work just the way I wanted, and honestly it didn't provide any. I was just running a what was it, GitLab? I guess it must have been GitLab I was running. Or no, just a Git server. Yeah. I honestly wasn't. It was like I was administering a Git server for like no reason. GitHub like provided did everything I needed to, so I kind of don't do that anymore. Okay. This is going to be a tricky one. This is going to be a tricky one because I have absolutely no idea how I am doing this. I mean, I have some idea. I was able to change the rate at which it was moving just now. So I'm not totally lost, but I understand this way. I need to understand this way better. Let's see. Okay, so the reason that it's flickering is because this pattern of cross colors appears to be moving one intersection of the grid per grid movement. That sentence probably didn't make a lot of sense, but basically what's happening is that these pattern of crosses is shifting up. Every time you see it change, it's going up to the right one step. And we don't want it to do that. We want it to follow the grid pattern. We want it to go... let's see. We basically want these crosses to render... every time the modulus causes the grid to re-render, we want the grid to move, we want the crosses to we want the rendering of the crosses to move through the array, and I have a feeling that this is going to require expanding the array a bit. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make this small in the frame again, just to make it a bit easier to understand what's happening here, how the rendering is actually happening. Right, here we go. So, grid looks okay now. That is... that is not helping a lot. That is... yeah, that's not helping a lot. Right. I think I can at least describe in words why this is happening. The reason is that we need the modulus to actually we need it to reset every 8 steps rather than every 1. Right now it's resetting the grid by a step every time the crosses. Every time the grid pattern resets, it's being moved back a step, when in fact it needs to be moved back 8 steps, because that's the size of the pattern. Oh, sorry, no. It needs to... oh, goodness, how many times am I going to repeat myself? It's something to do with the grid changing... It needs to change 8 times slower, basically. It needs to reset... It needs to reset 8 times slower. I think that's the key to getting this to render correctly. Now, how do I do that? I am going to make this... What I'm going to do next, I think, is going to cause loads of array indexing errors unless I expand this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to expand this array by double in every direction. There we go. Okay, so that array is now twice as big, and now we can index into this. We can index into here, kind of. We can index into it. We can over-index into it without erroring. So what I want to do is I want to basically I want this to what actually is what is controlling that? Oh, music stopped. What? Oh. This is Vaporwave, isn't it? Nah, I'm not feeling like Vaporwave today. More of what I was listening to. What was it? Yeah, mix. Okay. What is controlling the indexing into? Okay, so like indexing into this array is obviously only occurring here. So what happens? Basically, just want this to happen more slowly. What if I just do it like way more slowly? What happens if I do that? I'm not sure what effect this is going to have. What's happening there? Okay, so that's still modulus. Let's modulus it by a bit less, and let's do our little parentheses trick again. Let's put these all up. Does the parentheses match? No, probably not. Oh, I've confused myself. I've confused myself with the. What have I done? Oh dear. Oh dear. Oh dear. Grab this one. Grab this one. Grab this one. What? Really? What? Errors out the backside. What? There's nothing wrong with that. Parenthesis. Okay. Managed it that time. Okay. That is still jerking around. Yeah. Okay. Let's leave those there. I want those. Okay. Let's think a bit more critically about the components of this indexing. So we've got the row count plus 8. And that's equivalent to the row count because this this is a repeating pattern with base 8. So every 8 elements this repeats. So that's okay. We're indexing into the array according to this. So there's no problem with that. Don't think. We're going to add math abs. Let's get rid of math abs because I forgot what that was doing. Oh, it doesn't like it. Crash immediately because this value is probably like massively negative or something. Like me on Monday morning. It's probably massively negative because that's a negative number. Okay, so negative number divided by 8, and obviously the tick count gets really big. Let's see. Okay, we take the tick count, we divide it by 8. So dividing it by 8. Dividing it by 8, I'm not sure what effect that's having. No obvious effect. Okay, so we take the tick count and we mod by the cell size divided by 8. That's a really bad idea. I keep on dividing the modulo factor by 8 rather than multiplying it in order to reduce the speed of the change. Okay, so it's still changing. In fact, let's simplify this way down until it starts behaving differently. Okay, yep, don't know what that's doing, don't know what this is doing. We need modulo 8 because otherwise modulo 8 indexes it into the array. So we need to keep that, but everything else I'm going to get rid of. Okay, is that exactly the same? Yes, exactly the same. Exactly the same behavior. Okay. So, 7 not read event. Okay, we have the row and the column indexing where that's indexing into the array, and we are adding. We're adding the tick count modulo the cell size. I probably have to keep talking, don't I? Because otherwise I'm going to get like a copyright strike for letting somebody's copyrighted music play on the stream without any interruptions. That's fine, I can gab, I'm going to gab. Okay, the tick count. So the tick count obviously causes some, that gives us some, I can't divide it by 8 either, can I? There can't be any, right, there can't be division of the tick count, I don't think, because this has to be an array index. Ooh, yeah, that's a point, right, so I can't divide the tick count because then I've got a fraction which is going to propagate through these modulos, and then I'm going to try and index an array with a decimal, with a fractional number, which doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Yeah. So we don't divide that. Take the tick count, modulo the cell size. So modulo the cell size means that that's very weird. Actually, why am I doing that? I actually have no idea why I'm doing that. Okay, I'm gonna start from the ground floor on this one because I don't even know what has possessed me to do that. It's gonna be okay. So we're going to mod these by 8. That much I know I need because otherwise this won't index properly. Right. So what happens? Exactly the same thing. Yeah, that it was not doing anything. It was actually it was not actually doing anything at all. That's pretty funny. None of that other stuff was actually doing anything. Okay. Okay. I do know that these indexes are going to need to derive from the tick count at some point. I'm not exactly sure how quite yet. Let's have to think about this. Seems... Is the tick count going to need to be moduloed? Not sure. Not the brightest bulb in the box today, unfortunately. Sorry, folks. Okay. Okay, I'm going to stop staring at this like a zombie. I'm going to figure this out, and then I'm probably going to end the stream. But I am going to figure this out. I'm going to figure this out before I end the stream. This much, I promise you. How, let's see. Okay, so, tick count needs to be involved. Not sure how. Got the row count, that's fine. Now, why is it... okay. Ah! Yeah, of course. So, the grid of the crosses are resetting. The crosses are resetting because of this. This is scroll. Is this scrolling at the correct rate? That's kind of hard to tell, isn't it? It's kind of hard to tell. I think it is. I mean, we've got the same factors here. We've got the same modulo factors, and we've got the same tick. We've got the same tick rate. So the grid is actually moving correctly. It's moving sort of in synchronized. It's synchronized with the checkerboard underneath it. The only problem is that it's indexing into here wrongly. So this much, I think, this much I'm going to assume is working correctly. It does look scary, but honestly, a lot of it is just sort of. I mean, this is just setting the right widths for the crosses. So that is nothing to do with the actual. This has nothing to do with the positions of the crosses themselves. That's all taken care of here, and as I said, I'm fairly sure I've got these right. So I think the only thing that I need to be concerned about here is the indexing into the colour array. So, just want it to reset less often. How do I make it do that? We changed the modulo factor, of course. It isn't going to be 8, it's going to be something to do with 8. It's going to be something to do with 8. It's going to be 8 plus... It's going to be 8 plus a factor to do with the tick count, I think. I think we're going to have this. Not that exactly, but it's going to be something. It's going to be something. It's going to be something similar. How about that? What do we get? Nope. Crash. Okay, doesn't like it. Oh, and of course these have got to be going at the right rate. So that is going to do. These might be inverted, unfortunately. X and Y might be inverted here because of how the 2D array is notated. Is that any good? No, that's no good. What's the error that I'm getting? Cannot read properties of undefined reading 6. Okay. The reason that that is happening is... which line was it? Line 50. Line 50 is... Oh, it's here. But it doesn't say whether it was the first or the... Oh, it's the first. It's going to be A. A is the problem. Okay. What happens if I change that? Nope, doesn't like... Nope, still no good. It's a little strange. A little strange, to be honest. Probably, probably this is some cockamamie value, isn't it? So big cockamamie. That's, okay, I mean, that's a large number divided by 2. Large number divided by 2 is a slightly smaller large number plus 8, which is a totally stupid idea. This value itself needs to be moduloed. Dear me, dear me, dear me. Parentheses. I wish modular in JavaScript didn't have the stickiness that it does. It honestly does not need. I've heard that it's just honestly not that great an idea to do what they did. To do what they did, how they did it. It's the 1 to 8. How's that look? Nope, still an error. It is still unhappy about that. Yeah, that still makes no sense whatsoever. I don't know why... Let's have a look in the debugger. Debugger, where is... Oh, this is not like Firefox. Where is the debugger? Sources. Okay. This one. We are interested in... Where is it? Here we go. Okay. Here we go. Right. Right, values. A is... Oh, my mouse is drifty. That's annoying. A is 6, B is 6. What's the problem? Cannot read properties of undefined 6. So A is 6 and B is 6, and we can't read properties of undefined. Seems a little... Hang on. It... Oh boy. JavaScript errors. Reading 6. What? Why is it... Okay. Reading 6. What does it mean? What does it mean it's reading 6? Are these... Is it... That is... That's weird. Type error. Cannot read properties of undefined reading 6. What's the 6? A is 6, B is 6. I'm not reading them. True. That's true. Okay, so there's no problem there. True, and thus that. So... What? What have I done? What have I done? What have I done? Oh dear. Oh dear, oh dear. One of those again. What could possibly be... what could possibly be doing this? Oh dear, should I pause the stream and think about it and, like, have lunch or something? I do kind of want to do that. So I have a feeling that's what I'm going to do. Okay, well, it's been real. I'm going to catch you later. Thank you very much for watching.